Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Nick D'Andre and I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of GridMatrix. I want to thank you all for being here today and also to our event organizers for putting on such an incredible show. How's everyone doing? Enjoying the conference? Yeah? Good? Yeah, me too. Alright, so down to business. You may be wondering, what exactly is a paradigm shift? Well, a paradigm shift is something big. It's something that impacts everything that comes after. But I like to think of it as an information earthquake. All of our collective assumptions no longer apply, and there's a complete rule change. I'm here to make the case that we're living through a mobility paradigm shift right now. What we're all doing here is that big, and it's changing the world. There's a radical transformation happening in how we move. People, energy, goods, and most importantly, data. You may not be able to see it up close, but the thing is, it's happened before. Mark Twain said that history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. And today is no different. So, a couple words about the last paradigm shift to put today's in perspective. Picture it. It's the 1890s and you want to go somewhere. You basically have two options. You can walk or you can take a horse. Horses and humans both walk around 4 miles per hour, so you're not really going to get there any faster. But you will go further. Demand for horses is so high and substitutes so scarce that in 1894, the London Times predicts that by 1940, London streets are going to be covered by no less than 9 feet of horse manure. It's a lot. This all changes in 1908, when Henry Ford introduces the Model T and puts motorized mobility in the hands of the masses. By 1910, we graduate into this mixed world, where new and old forms of mobility coexist. By the 1920s, vehicle registrations number more than 20 million in the United States. So, in 30 years, we go from being doomed by demand for horses to millions of cars, and the world changes. We need paved roads, street networks, and gas stations to support this new form of mobility. People can live further away from employers, and employers can hire from further away. Demand for new infrastructure goes hand in hand with this new form of mobility. That arc, from the introduction of a new form of mobility to a mixed world where new and old forms of mobility coexist, to a future where demand for new infrastructure reshapes the world that we live in, is exactly what's happening right now. So, if you want to know where we are in that arc, right now, we're living in a mixed world. But it's more complicated than that. In the last paradigm shift, we went from horses to cars. Today, there are multiple simultaneous technology shifts happening. I've heard of a few frameworks to describe them, but the most common is ACES. Autonomous, connected, electric, shared. Each began distinctly, but increasingly the lines are blurring, and they're overlapping to form a new kind of stack mobility. So going back to the 90s, General Motors introduces the EV1. This electric car influences generations of electric vehicles after it. GPS changes car navigation forever and makes MapQuest a thing of the past. I don't know if anyone else remembers that. In the 2000s, ride-sharing emerges and Uber is founded. Tesla introduces its first roadster. BMW puts SIM cards in cars, allowing for 24/7, 365 connectivity. DARPA launches its first innovation challenge for autonomous vehicles. The task, navigate a 150-mile stretch of the Mojave Desert. The winner makes it 7.32 miles before hitting a rock. By the 2010s, we have regulations for ride-sharing. Chevy introduces the Volt, which leverages the technology that was first launched in the EV1. More than 20% of total vehicles sold are connected, and Tesla introduces autopilot. Which brings us to today, a mixed world. Germany has become the first country to legalize robotaxis. There are more than 300 models of electric vehicle projected to be on sale by 2025. Connected vehicles today generate 4 terabytes of data per car per day. To put that in perspective, that's half as much as the Hubble Space Telescope generates each day. New regulations for autonomous vehicle safety are increasingly becoming more common. So you might wonder, what exactly is next? Are we really on the cusp of a world where 24/7, 365 connected, 1,000-mile per battery charge, level 5 autonomous robotaxis are the next dominant form of urban mobility? Maybe, but closing that gap won't be easy. None of these verticals are fully mature or close to fully adopted. So there are 5 foundational blocks underpinning the full maturity and adoption across the autonomous, connected, electric, and shared verticals. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about processing power or sensors and batteries. GPUs and CPUs are already fast enough to handle AV compute loads at the edge. Combinations of cameras, LiDAR, and radar are already refined enough to navigate dense urban environments. Battery technology is always improving, but current EVs already have surpassed 300 miles per charge. The next 2 foundational blocks are totally different challenges. Artificial intelligence and machine learning will continue to develop, but when they'll deliver on level 5 autonomy isn't clear. Regulations are still being looked at. Laws governing autonomous vehicle safety and ride-sharing company labor differ by country and aren't standardized. The only ACES vertical with ubiquitous regulation is electric, and that's driven by an adoption for emission reduction targets. The most crucial point here, and the one to remember, is that it's going to get worked out. It'll just take time. The most critical foundational block is infrastructure. And I'm putting it in quotes here because I want to draw a distinction between 2 kinds of infrastructure: built infrastructure and data infrastructure. Built infrastructure is different depending on the ACES vertical you have in mind. For electric cars, it might be a national vehicle charging network. For rideshare, it might be a staging area. Just like paved roads, gas stations, and highway networks that accompany the last mobility paradigm shift, they will get built. Data infrastructure, however, is shared across each ACES vertical. It could be a software update requiring support data transmission. It could also be wireless connectivity. It's the ability to connect siloed data sources, similar to the way new road networks accelerate the adoption of motorized mobility. It's a unique feature of today's mobility paradigm shift, and it converges across each ACES vertical. It's the key to bring each of these verticals to complete maturity and adoption. This data infrastructure can be thought of as layers, but unfortunately that's part of the problem. You can't get to one without going through another. On the uppermost layer, you've got apps. This is the interface layer, connecting users to each individual ACES vertical. You probably actually already have them on your phone. It's your Uber or your Lyft app, or it's the app that lets you monitor your car's charging progress. Underneath, you've got the cloud, storing data generated from sensors, vehicles, phones, and your car's charging processes. Connectivity between the cloud and each ACES vertical is the pinch point. This layered structure of tiers creates silos that block full adoption and maturity in every single vertical. Cars can connect to OEM clouds, but not to each other. Data doesn't go directly from an OEM's cloud to infrastructure. An intersection sensor can't let a car know that a pedestrian is in the crosswalk and that it should slow down. A user's phone can't broadcast its route to a traffic light so that it knows where traffic will be. Forging these connections is ultimately what will bring the autonomous, connected, electric, and shared verticals together. It's how I like to think about the work we're doing at GridMatrix. It's a central challenge we all need to overcome, regardless of the vertical that we belong to. All right, so thank you all for taking the time today. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer some. All right, well, if not, please come find me at booth number 148 in the startup area, and we can talk later. Thank you.